welcome to everyone who is joining us today on what is officially our very first podcast here at Kari. I'm really excited that today we're launching on March 8th. It's International Women's Day. My name is Lauren Drayton and I'm the marketing manager for the Kari Foundation, and I'm joined by our CEO, Casey Ralph, and Colleen Fricker, our manager, community programs. Ladies, how are we going?
Really, really well. I'm excited to be here today.
Awesome. So we are here on International Women's Day, and today we will be discussing this year's theme, Break the Bias, and its leniences towards equality. I'm just going to read a statement to you, and then we're kind of going to get the conversation flowing.
Cool.
Okay. Imagine a gender equal world, a world free of bias, stereotypes, and discrimination, a world that is diverse, equitable, and inclusive, a world where difference is valued and celebrated. Together, we can forge women's equality. Collectively, we can all break the bias. Just going to let it sit for a sec.
Yeah.
Okay, so Casey, tell me, how does that land for you?
I imagine that world all the time. So for me, the fact that it's out there as a theme and it's that moment for us to reflect on the significance of break the bias and looking at that gender equality, that's what excites me, because that is the vision. Because gender equality, we're not quite there. We talk about it. So the fact that that's the theme and it's so open and it can be so thought-provoking and start a conversation, exciting.
And Cole?
Yeah, on top of what Casey said, I think the things that jumped out to me with that was the words equity and inclusion. So we're not just talking about, the gender equality that we need to get to. It's also this idea that equity is more important than that. There are certain things that some people need more than others, and we need to be mindful of that when we're talking about equality.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I guess before we kind of get into a bit more of a conversation about what we here at Kari are doing to promote that for our communities, I guess I want to take a step back with each of you ladies and have that conversation about your experiences when it comes to bias in the workplace, in your personal lives, all of those kinds of things. So Casey, I'll start with you.
So, yeah, I think it'd be remiss of me not to talk about the fact that I'm really proud to be an Aboriginal woman out in the community, but really proud that I'm the CEO of an Aboriginal organisation. And
You're a boss.
I am.
You're a boss.
I am a boss. And that I'm not surprised, or I should be less surprised by the fact of how surprised people are by that. Yeah. So, when we talk about gender bias and the theme this year, the fact that so many people can be surprised that I am a CEO, not just because I'm a female, but because of my age, and just, it really hits home for me that there's this stereotype of what a CEO should be, and I apparently am somewhat far removed from what the majority of people think that is. So I take that quite seriously in my role. That and yeah, I guess for me, I am young. I say I'm still young.
Yeah,
I am.
No,
I'm still young.
You're definitely young.
I'm still young. I've earned my stripes, and I own this space. I own it. I think I do a great job. Yeah.
And I definitely think in the space that we work in across the Kari Collective in terms of Kari Limited and the Foundation, when we talk about the fact that majority of our staff are female, I think I would be happy to say that I could speak for most of them, if not all of them, when I say the fact that we have a female CEO who's championing what we are doing day in and day out, it fills me with so much pride to say that my CEO is female and she runs what we do like a boss. She's a total boss.
Yeah. Look, I was really lucky. I was raised by parents who were so aspirational, who told me from a very young age that I could do anything that I wanted to. It didn't matter whether I was male or female. It didn't matter, my age. As long as you wanted something, if you could dream big and you were willing to work hard for it, you could achieve anything. And so I guess I've just lived my life that way. So yeah.
No, it's awesome. And Cole.
Yeah. Oh, well, I was going to say that experience of walking into Kari for me and like having you both there as, strong Aboriginal women who are in positions of leadership has been massive for me. Like my journey at Kari has been incredible because there's been people to look up to that I honestly can't imagine working in any other space where I would be able to say that there are there's a female CEO, that the large portion of the people in leadership positions are women, and more than that they're Indigenous women is incredible. I think we're very lucky.
Yeah, I'm extremely proud of that fact, we all have a leadership role here at Kari, and everyone does it just, to the best, level of standard. It's second to none, and it's refreshing to see that there is just such a dynamic that exists.
And I think, we'll get into it a little bit later in the conversation, but I think having such empowered female staff in particular, the outcomes that we've seen in terms of the programming that we deliver both in the Kari Limited and the Kari Foundation space, and being those champions of change for our young people that we work with and their families in terms of breaking the stereotypes and breaking the biases that come with being female Aboriginal young women, mothers, carers, all of those kinds of things. So I think, like I said, we'll touch on that a little bit more in the chat, but I think, when it comes to stereotypes and all those kinds of things, like Cole, did you want to speak on that a bit more?
Yeah. It's interesting working at Kari. It's almost a bit of a utopia. Like, we go in and we sit in this space that we're probably not going to be interacting with people like that elsewhere. Working at Kari is the first time I've ever worked within community as well. So actually getting to work with a big staff of Indigenous people has been a massive cultural journey for me. And then I'm also bringing into it a little bit of my own background of being part of also LGBTQ community as well. And having to think about, the differences of walking through the world without relating specifically within the gender binary at all. These kinds of things are not problems that I've ever encountered at Kari. It's always been so open and welcome, and it can be a bit of a shock sometimes going into other places and being like, oh, it's a lot of all the people in power, all men, and no one's actually listening to any female voices, and definitely not any Indigenous voices.
And what I think that part of that is attributed to the fact that I think because we are an Aboriginal organisation, and I think culturally we've always respected the role that women play in terms of that cultural community, and that, the significance that women play. And I think what's happened at Kari is that we do have a lot of male staff as well, which is, something that when we work in the community services sector, having male staff, it's fantastic because you do need, it's just as important. But I think the gentlemen that we do have working alongside us, they get to listen to, I guess, the struggle that we have as female counterparts and hear the stories. They witness sometimes the stereotypes or the reactions that we receive in terms of different things firsthand, and have the ability to stop and listen and say, oh my God, how did that land for you? Because from an outsider looking in for that moment, I had a real light bulb moment. I had an aha moment. So I think we're really fortunate that we work in a space where we can do that educative piece. So when we talk about, gender bias, I really feel like in the workplace, it somewhat doesn't exist because there is a genuine respect between male and female, and everyone understanding it's a collective, united team and approach that we take there.
And we're all working towards the common goal.
But Cole's right, it doesn't exist everywhere.
No.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we're able to have those conversations. We do have those conversations. People witness different things, then we reflect and we share those moments with one another as that educative piece.
Yeah.
But it doesn't happen elsewhere. As I said, I sit in meetings at times where people are highly surprised, or you walk through somewhere and it's a completely different space. And, so I often think, how can we change this? How can we shift it? And it comes through conversation, having these conversations, sharing those stories, talking about the impact. Yeah.
And I know from our experience with a lot of our corporate partners, and particularly a lot of our female corporate partners, who when they spend, even as small as 5 to 10 minutes in a room with yourself, Case, or a collective, if we had a corporate partner in this room right now, knowing that when they leave and they go back to their workplaces, they feel uplifted, they feel empowered, they feel strong, they feel ready to tackle basically anything. And that always sits really nicely with me. any event that we run,
Yeah.
any meeting that we've gone to, anything like that, you know, the time that, you know, Case, you in particular take to sit down with people and have that real connection. And it goes back to that cultural conversation that we're having. We make the time. We make the time to sit down, to really understand the people that we're working with. And then that, hopefully when they do leave, Kari in itself, that they feel that way, but leaving a room full of really strong women, that they can then take that back to their workplaces and their everyday lives.
Yeah. Thank you. Quite humbled by that. And if that's how it is landing for people, then I'm quite humbled. I'm the really corny person at work, as you know, that says that, you know, I do this thing called work, and I don't think I work a day ever. And there are long days, there are stressful days. In one of the companies, we work in child protection. I don't think you can get a space that can be more confronting and stressful at times.
And real.
Yeah,
very real.
very real. But I love what I do, you know what I mean? I believe in the big picture vision of what we have here at Kari. And, you know, when I stepped into this role, you know, I stepped into the responsibility and I take it seriously. So I love nothing more than going in and I guess breaking through the ceiling and having conversations with people about different things that people don't think I should necessarily be an expert in, you know, and but like really, dispelling the myths of, you know, oh, must be a leader just in community or not this, but just being like, no, like we're truly passionate, we're invested, you know, got strong business acumen, you know, strategies where we're at, got big picture vision and the ability to implement it. So for me, it's an exciting space to play in, and if conversations like this can, you know, shift the thought focus about the role that women play in the workforce and their capabilities, then that's what's exciting.
And I think too that, and again, coming back to that that slight conversation we were having before about the work that we do across Kari and how the impacts of that, you know, are making such great changes in our communities. I mean, you know, when we think about Kari Limited and we're working in this child protection space, but the work that we're doing in our restoration team and our family preservation team and with Brighter Futures, early intervention, working with families, real families out in community and empowering mothers and aunties and nanas and all of those kinds of things to be the change.
Oh, 100%, because women are so much more than the roles that I think are predetermined for them.
Yeah.
We're not just, mothers, sisters, all of those things. We're a combination of all of them.
Yeah.
And that's real strength and that's real resilience. And I think sometimes, people fall into the default of going, oh, you get labelled, you know, but I think we play so many roles, we wear so many hats, and I think women don't even realise sometimes the strength that exists within them. You know, a lot of the clients that we work, so we do a lot of that work around that empowerment space of you don't realise the strength that exists in you, you know. So recognising it through conversations like this that often we have to be our own champions of change.
Yeah.
You know, and go out and do that educative piece. And
And I think across the Kari Foundation, when we talk about all of the pillars that we work in, obviously education is a big one, and the work that the community programs team is doing across our scholarships. So really tapping in to that space with our youth and empowering them to become, you know, more than they currently are and what they want to be and all of those kinds of things, and the other programs that we deliver across driving and all of that kind of stuff. I think working with a lot of young women across programs like our debutante ball and all of those kinds of programs where over the years we have seen young women take control of their lives, you know, young women who at a point in time may have found themselves later in a domestic violence relationship and feeling empowered through a program that she participated in through Kari to go and make the report.
Even, you know, the words like break the bias and the thought of breaking the stereotypes. The Love Bites program that we run is massively about that. So that's going into schools and teaching young people, both young men and young women, that there are these very negative stereotypes that we're socialized in at a young age, and these aren't necessarily true.
Yeah.
Like these are absolutely social constructs that are ingrained in us, and as a result we reach adulthood and think that there's such a vast difference between men and women, and that's where these expectations and things come from. Programs like that where we're working and starting with children at that young age are the things that are going to change this stuff around.
Even the things that we expose our young people to in terms of programming, like our scholarship kids. We've got so many partners across so many diverse fields, and the construction industry is one of the biggest ones that we partner with. And our pitch is to our male and our female scholarship holders, our male and female, young people out in the community, mums and dads. We're saying, this is an industry for everyone. So I know that, I'm invested in working alongside our construction partners in how do we get more women into the construction industry, because there's an appetite for it. We have the conversation. It's just there's a lot of young girls out there who are like, I'm really interested, but is there a place for me?
Yeah.
100% there is.
Where's that pathway into it for them?
Yeah, and there are so many of our partners who want that pathway to be the road more travelled than the road less travelled.
Yeah.
So that's what's exciting, because we've got a theme like this, but we're really lucky here at Curry that a lot of the people that we're partnering with have that shared vision, that shared drive.
Yes.
And I know that a theme such as this, Break the Bias, is exactly what they're wanting to do, because that's the conversation piece. So there's real appetite for change, for recognising that women are not one-dimensional, that they're multidimensional, and that the skills don't just exist in some niche little corner.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, Cole, when you're talking about programs like Love Bites, and we are talking about that education piece for young women and for males, I think it's important too for us to recognise that by empowering women to be so confident in themselves, it's then saying to them, you can be the change in educating your male counterparts.
Yeah. Even, the programs that we have that are breaking down gender stereotypes, like we have dads bringing their babies to the parents and swimming classes. They historically were mum and bub classes, and now they're parents and bubs. Like these are ways that men get to interact more with their children and get to share these joyful experiences. We need to break down those walls that say that, these are your roles, you do this, and these are your roles, you do that. There's so much I think of as a young person that I had to unlearn, that I was socialized into believing about, what I could do, or what are the limits of my gender. And I think about every day how useful something like Love Bites would have been to me at 16 to help me not fall into, negative
into those
thought processes
into thinking that that's the only way to do it.
Yeah.
And that's right.
Yeah.
I mean, saying to young people, there is no right or wrong when it comes to your own empowerment and your own identity and your own comfortability in your own body.
Yeah.
And I think overall that's the larger message of what Love Bites is.
Yeah.
But definitely educating our male counterparts and making them, be part of the movement forward.
What about how I just had a really proud, mama bear moment when we were talking about, we have a Kari workforce that really celebrates that gender equality and the roles that we play, and it's just the roles are the roles, and that we do it. And then when we talk at a program level, we obviously embed that same ethos, because we are promoting dads to be actively involved, mums to step out of their comfort zone, women to try new things and forge career pathways into new industry that previously they thought weren't possible. So that mindset that we've created within our workforce, how proud I am that our workforce is going out into the community and delivering programs with that same aspirational
it's pretty
view
amazing.
of how we do things.
100%.
Yeah.
And
it's not
again,
until you stop and think like this that you go, oh my
wow.
God, we're doing that organically.
We're doing it.
But that's what it is. It's not rocket science. So for people out there who are going, how are we going to, to do this? It's just, you've got to start somewhere, and it comes through that education, through having a conversation, with a female person and saying, what is your experience? Do you think that there is a gender bias?
Yeah.
Why do you think that?
What does that mean for you?
And not just going through a ticker box exercise of we've done a survey, we've done this, we've listened to that, but actually understanding the impact that has, the results, the words that you're receiving, how things are landing.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And that empowerment piece, again, I was just thinking about the programming as you were talking, Case, and I think, when we talk about something like our Mob Fit program, our exercise program, bringing, at the moment, it's very female participant, it's a collective of women that come together and, the program itself promotes healthy lifestyles and all of that, but it also promotes coming together and connection, and it takes it back to that cultural connect that we were talking about before. And how that can empower women in our community to move forward together.
Oh, that's exactly it.
Yeah.
I've got to tell you, some of those participants, they're fierce.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fantastic that, some of these women who started that particular program came in, and social isolation was something that was, a large impactor for those. And now you've got these women who are, turning up, they own those classes, they're feeling really empowered, in their own bodies, in their own space, and just asserting themselves as individuals. It's fantastic.
Yeah. And, further on from, getting fit and being healthy and having active participation in exercise, I guess when we're talking about Kari Foundation and the pillars that we work in, obviously we work in the pillar of sport. In case I want to bring up, you were recently in the NRL All-Stars camp with the women's team, winners, fantastic. It was a great game from all accounts, the spectacle, everything. What does it mean for you to be in that camp and for those women?
Oh, look, I could not speak higher of the women who played and represented Kari in the Indigenous All-Stars game, because they are not just exceptional athletes, they in their own right are just incredible women, and I don't think the majority of them realise just how amazing they are and just how much of a profile they have, and the fact that so many people look up to them as role models. And the thing is, with these girls, they don't do it for the money, because the money's not big. The competition's there. They do it for the love of the game, because the purity of the sport, because they respect that if you work hard, you can be the best at something. And so those girls went, they go into the camp and they bond, they learn from one another. We did a lot of cultural engagement, which was, absolutely phenomenal, getting to know one another and a bit about that space of how connected people are and having that conversation piece and talking about identity.
And I think, on a grassroots community level, the number of clubs and areas that are now facilitating younger girls taking up the rugby league and the competition in that young female age bracket has just exploded.
Yeah, thanks to the trailblazers that have gone before. Those who took a chance and made the impossible possible, which is fantastic. And at Kari, we are avid supporters of the female pathway system and making sure that there's many opportunities for young Aboriginal girls and women to play at the elite level, and the end goal is to have as many Aboriginal girls playing one day for the Jillaroos and for Australia. And that's when things become a game changer, when we've opened doors to opportunity, when we've made the impossible become aspirational, and from aspirational to realities.
That's amazing.
I know, so exciting. I feel like we're about to break out in song. I know. We've threatened it.
I think how do you top such a statement? How do you top that? I think, I want to kind of throw it open. Is there anything else that you ladies want to?
I guess just in terms of things that we've got coming up in the year that fit well within this space, we're looking at doing a women's wellbeing event. We're putting together an amazing, bunch of an opportunity for women to come together, for Indigenous women to come together, and for us to look at what wellbeing is and how we're, how are we doing that? What are we doing for women in that space?
And I guess for me, I'm just excited. As I said, we've got so many partners who are on the journey, who are commencing their journey with us. And there's so many more who I think over the coming months and years will gravitate towards wanting to have a conversation. For me, that's the part that's exciting, because those partners that are coming aboard, they're like-minded. And that's where real change can happen, because this can't just be a conversation that happens on the fact that it's International Women's Day, where we have a call for
Every day.
It has to be every day. It has to be our lived experience. It has to stop being a conversation something that gets reported on the news every now and then where people have that holy moly moment. Those statistics, they're disgraceful. It has to be a constant turn of attention to it, and it has to be something we practice. So if we at Kari can continue to do what we do in that space and organically drive that through the programs that we do and have it in conversation, because as strong women and Aboriginal women at it, being present at those meetings and representing women in the regard that we know they should be held, that's where real change will, because the penny will eventually drop. Yeah.
Wow. I think we've said it all. I think this was a great conversation, and I really want to thank both of you ladies for joining me today.
Yeah.
On what will be the first of many podcasts that we have coming up within the next year and beyond. And I really want to thank everyone that's joined us today.
Yeah. Thank you.
To listen in.